Welcome to a special episode of the Bourbon Lens with your host, Jake. Scott, he doesn't even know I'm doing this because I wanted to do something to celebrate our veterans. So sit back and buckle into our special Veterans Day episode featuring 4 branches. Rick, Harold, it's always great to see you. And I think of veteran-owned businesses. There's a lot of them, thankfully, for a lot of people who have come back from service and have done many great things. But you all have become basically family at this point to the Bourbon Lens crew. So excited to connect with you all on something that you all are obviously passionate about. And those are the veterans that you all have either served with or the ones that are going to be the veterans of the future that are serving now. So appreciate you taking some time out of your all's busy Florida trips to spend some time with me.
No, man, it's always a pleasure, Jake. We really appreciate and honored that we can be a part of this.
Yeah. Harold's good to see you, man. I didn't get to see you when I was in Kentucky with the guys.
It's awesome, man. It's kind of Kentucky is our second home now. You know, we spent a lot of time out in Kentucky for, various reasons, but the priority is our bourbon, of course, but it's great. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, well, it's great to see you all and talk to you all. First and foremost, we're going to talk bourbon before we talk veterans. And so we got the Continental here. So if you go back to an episode, I actually went down and saw Rick and saw Greg, and we got to try this right off the line. And Rick's signature's right there, as well as Greg Snyder's master distiller. It just says Rick. Nothing else, Rick.
That's right.
But it's a great bottle. I've been able to share this with the veterans in my life. And on Monday, the day before Veterans Day, there's a big anniversary that you're celebrating with the kind of the 250th celebration of America coming up. And that is for the Marines. So which one do y'all want to talk about? What's happening on Monday?
Yeah, Jake, that's me, man, the Marines. Monday is the 250th anniversary of what I'll call, the finest fighting force in the world, the Marines. I'm going to be biased, right? You see all the memes out there on Instagram, but we did the Continental in honor of the Army, the Navy, and the Marine Corps, right? The Army came first and their birthday was in June. We celebrated that. Navy, y'all's birthday was in October, but I don't think any branch of the services out of all 6 of them actually celebrate like the Marines do. I mean, we're fanatical, right? We're almost cult-like when it comes to our birthday ball. So we're really excited about what's coming up on 10 November. In fact, in my household, I always get a cake on 10 November, and it's hit or miss when I get one on my real birthday.
Hey, you gotta celebrate. And Harold, being part of the Navy, right, and what you all did there, what's it like to have celebrated that already earlier this year?
Well, it was an awesome occasion, right? As I look back on my Navy career, and like you said earlier, we pay respects, during Veterans Day to the people that's come before us. And fortunately for me, my oldest son, Josh, he's a P-5 pilot, and my second son, Jake's he's in the SEAL teams and he's deployed right now. So it's a legacy thing for us, for our family. But, lots of people have alma maters, from colleges. I see it in the Navy is mine, right? Every time I see a Navy airplane or a Navy ship or a submarine or whatever, it just, I just feel so proud to have served our country and the U.S. Navy. And, like Rick said, the Marine Corps is the pinnacle of the fighting force of our military. And I think the U.S. Navy does a great job for us, power at sea, right? And keeping all the sea lanes open and doing what they're doing right now all over the globe. So it's really amazing to be a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a big football game in a couple weeks. Navy is doing pretty damn good at football. Army is not so hot this year. And so I'm sure it's go Navy, beat Army always for you, right, Harold?
For Harold and I, it is, right? Team Navy Marine Corps. And there's a joke that we say, like, the Army Navy games, one time a year, the Marines say they're part of the Navy.
Well, Jake, I tell you, last year, me and Rick were fortunate enough to get tickets, and we did a big tasting out in the parking lot, the pregame before we went into Washington Commander Stadium and watched the game live. It was my first time. I think, Rick, it was your first time too, right? What a experience. I mean, yeah. We were hugging people around us. They were Marine Corps, Army, a father of an Army cadet was out. I mean, it was just unbelievable to see it. And the gentleman in front of me, I'll never forget this. He said, you know what? He said, Harold and Rick, he said, I've been to 3 Super Bowls and nothing compares to an Army Navy football game. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
That's true, Harold. When I came back from that experience, I said, that is truly America's game. That is the most patriotic American football game there is, hands down. It was the energy, just all of it. It truly was. It's what we fought for, is the freedom right there. and it's embodied on the football field.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a longtime football fan, I make time always on CBS to watch that game right around 3:30. Nothing else is on, and it is full force. You're probably decorating for Christmas behind you, and that game's on, and you watch the pageantry and the passion of the people that are going to fight for us. Because in literal months, those people that are seniors will graduate from their separate schools, and they will be the next wave of people protecting us around the world. And we're thankful for them that, they go and they put on a spectacle for us, but also that they put on, the true colors of the United States, to go and protect us around the world. So getting back real quick to the Continental, if you've not seen the episode, we go in deep detail of this, but this is a 9-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey at 102 proof. Again, celebrating the 200th year of all of the most of the armed forces in the United States. And so again, go check that episode out. You can find the link right here, and you'll find it all over social media as well. It's actually one of our most successful reels, was a collaboration with you all in the recent past. So always great to be partners. But the real reason today is to talk about veterans. And we've really focused a lot on the bourbon and the whiskey, right? Because that's what's brought us together from a conversation perspective. But I wanted to spend some time highlighting you all and what you all have done. Obviously, there's a lot you all can't say, but there's things that you can say, right, about your all service and time. So Harold, I'll go with you first. Two questions I want both of you all to answer. Question one is, when did you enroll? And why, right? That's two-parter. And then two, as someone who has served, and then, with your lineage and with your family now serving, what's it mean for you to be a veteran, right? So two kind of hard-hitting questions. When did you enroll and why? And then the second one, what's it mean to be a veteran of the United States? Even with the craziness that we have going on as a country, we're afforded the crazy because of what, our people have done to keep us a free nation.
Rick, you want to go first?
No, I think
you.
they put that to you. You're
Okay,
first.
here we go. Back in 1987, I was, I graduated high school in 79. Took me 6 years to get a 2-year degree in criminal justice. My whole focus was to be a North Carolina highway patrolman, state trooper. So I was going down that road. And all of a sudden, after I finished my 2-year degree, which took 6, it was an EMT basic, to get prepared for the, being a highway patrolman. The school, they had some type of a lawsuit on the school, and they shut the academy down for a while, and it was a long while. So during that time I was waiting, after a year or so waiting, I read an article in a parade magazine in the Sunday's newspaper. It said, and the caption on the front of this magazine was, "Are the Navy SEALs the toughest men alive?" And after I read that article, it was like, basically that made my decision for me. So I went to the recruiting office, shortly after that, and ended up enlisting in the Navy to be a Navy SEAL. Back then they didn't have the straight from recruitment to the SEAL program. You had to go to the boot camp. And then once you got to, I went to Great Lakes, Illinois for that, went through Navy boot camp, and was during the Navy boot camp, we had an opportunity to screen for Navy SEAL, SWIC, divers, and all that. So EOD. So I did the test, the physical test, to swim, of course, to run, to push-ups, set-ups, all the stuff that was required. Made it through that. And then after graduating boot camp, I went to A school. And then from A school, I was a boatswain mate at that point. And then I got selected and got orders to BUDS, basic underwater demolition school for SEALs out in Coronado, California. Went through BUDS class 152 and was finished BUDS. And then, like I said, it was 102 of us, and the 20 of us was standing after that. So, when I was telling you, Jake, it takes 100 people, 100 men to make 20 SEALs. That's pretty much it's still pretty much relevant today. It just takes, and we're trying to push a lot more through, but it ends up being the same ratio. 100 people, we get 20 out of it graduates. My first tour duty, I went to SEAL Team 1, finished up there, and then I screened for Tier 1 unit out at Dev Group. And I went to Dev Group, and I was there for 8 years. And that's the kind of command that, I correlate that to Major League Baseball. When I was at SEAL Team 1, I was playing AA baseball. Then when I got to Dev Group, that's pros, right? You walk into a pro club. That's the difference between the operational experience of the guys that get selected to this command. So I did that for 8 years, and then I went over to the training command, and I was Command Master Chief of SEAL Team 4 back in 05 to 07. Then I did a tour down in Homestead, Florida, SOC South, for 2 years, worked with Army Special Forces guys, great people. And, for that joint tour, And then I went back up to Virginia Beach and ended up retiring out of Virginia Beach in 2015. As far as the second part of your question, what does it mean to me to be a veteran? And I'm sure that everybody out there feels the same way. You know, I was kind of humble during my whole career. I understood what I was doing. I understood sometimes, you know, and I've got friends that didn't come back from missions. We all put our lives on the line for our beautiful country. And I like to say now that, you know, when people tell me or I get approached when we're doing tastings of the bourbon saying, hey, they say, thank you for your service. For the longest time, I just said, well, you know, thank you. But now I'm kind of sticking with my deal and I truly mean this, is when they say, thank you for your service, I look them in the eye and go, you were worth it. You and every patriot, you know, American citizen is who we went to protect. It wasn't just my family or my friends in my circle. It was all American citizens and patriots. That's who we went down to protect, right? Because we have to go fight on other people's shores and territories, vice having to deal with it here at home. So that's my, you know, my take on that. And being a veteran is just it's a special feeling. You know, every time the national anthem's played, I kind of get goosebumps. And you know, I just love seeing patriotism. And I hope our country we can really hold on to that, you know, with our younger generation coming up and do a lot of mentoring too, which is important, right? For young men that want to be Navy SEALs, you know, we talk with them, but I just go, hey, you know, it's the old Nike thing, right? Just do it, right? I mean, I can tell you to go take a cold shower before you go into buds, but that ain't gonna work. You know,
No.
you just need to have it in your heart that that's what you want to do and just go do it. So
Yeah. Yep. Show up and be present, right?
that's right.
Uh-huh.
All right, Rick, you're up. That's a laundry list of things.
That's it.
You gotta
Harold's got a few years on me. So
He's got some accomplishments.
yeah, he's got quite a few more. So your first question, when did I decide to join the military and why? So I enlisted in 1993, enlisted in the Marines, went to Parris Island, went to boot camp there. But to answer why goes back prior to that. So I grew up as an oil brat, right? So you got military brats, you got oil brats. Every 2 years we moved overseas. My dad was from overseas, was from South America and worked for a big U.S. oil company. Did some amazing things, some of the first ever in the world that he did, but we moved a lot. And it was during that time living in different countries, you know, we'd visit embassies, and embassies are protected by U.S. Marines, right? So I'd see the Marines and I'd see them sometimes in blues. And it struck me as a kid, right? That, and then growing up in the 80s, I was definitely indoctrinated by all the action movies, right? Rambo, Uncommon Valor, Delta Force, right? You had all these, you know, great action movies, albeit a little bit of propaganda, but that definitely influenced me. So it was a combination of that and growing up overseas and seeing the lack of some freedoms that we take for granted. So came back to high school, and high school, then went off to college, went to Virginia Military Institute. And I don't tell this story very often, but now it's going to go public. I think I've shared it once with Harold. Before becoming a Marine, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. At 15, I don't admit that lightly. It hurts my heart to say that I wanted to go in the Navy. But like Harold read that article, Toughest Men in the World, I got scuba certified at 15. And my dive instructor, the scuba instructor, was telling stories of these guys running in with logs on their shoulders out in California, right? And I was like, I think I could do that. I want to be that. So I go to VMI. You have to be in one ROTC, right? Army, Air Force, and Navy Marines at that time. So I'm in the Navy ROTC, and I'm talking to the assistant military officer in charge, AMOI, Navy. I think he's a Navy lieutenant. He's like, well, you know what? In order to you want to be a Navy SEAL officer, you need to have a 4.0 and you need to be an electrical engineer or something like that. Right. That's the reason I'm a Marine. The math isn't going to work for me. So that quickly, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to do that. And then I had two very close friends to this day that talked me into enlisting. They're like, you know what? You should be a Marine. We're Marines. They were already prior service Marines. They'd already been to Desert Storm. And they were like, you know what? You should join. It's so much fun. You'll have a great time. A few push-ups here, a couple obstacle courses. You're good at that type of stuff. I was like, yeah, it sounds great. Let's go. And I signed up with the recruiter, got to Parris Island. And the first thing I wanted to do was like, you sons of bitches lied to me. Right. If I see you a day, I'm going to kick you in the balls, because it was not that easy, but no regrets at all.
Yeah.
It definitely shaped me. So that's kind of how and why I got into the Marines. And then, of course, after boot camp, I finished up college, and then I pursued a commission as a Marine officer and did a tour in Lejeune. 1-6. We deployed to Kosovo. I'm actually sitting here. He's off to the side of me with a Marine. We served overseas together. I hadn't seen in 20 years as officers together. And then did a B billet down, ran all the counter narcotics for the Marine Corps out of New Orleans. So a lot of stuff down in Central and South America and the Caribbean, and working that program. And then kind of got out, and this kind of leads into how I eventually got into the bourbon business, but got out, and then I got recruited into the CIA as a contractor from 2004, a little bit broken time, to about 2018. So that's kind of my service track record. I won't go into too much, or can't go into too much of that stuff on air.
For sure.
But what does it mean to be a veteran now? For me, it means more than being when I was on active duty, right? It means I have to uphold as a Marine, I'm going to uphold the title that was bestowed upon me for earning, right? I don't want to ever tarnish that name. But then it's a deeply personal question, right? As I think about it, there is deep honor in that. And almost like I said, to uphold the name and the service I was a part of, and to know that we here as veterans, we stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before us and that laid down their life. I truly believe we stand on the shoulders of giants. So every day is a chance to live a good life, to uphold that sacrifice and honor it, right? And try and be a good human being, right? Better than I was yesterday. That's the goal. That's what it means to be a veteran, right? And to, see what the country is doing. That's what we fought for. I mean, it's crazy right now, but that's why we served our country, so we could have these freedoms. Promise you, they don't have them in Afghanistan. They don't have them in some of these other countries. Listeners can go take a tour there and realize that quickly.
For sure. We have some mission partners with our church in some undisclosed regions right around there that, you would think that, the freedom of religion is the one thing we think we take for granted, probably above all else. You look at Nigeria or any of those other countries, people are getting slaughtered just because of their faith. And so it's tough. And you all fought for us on this soil to worship whoever we want to worship, or worship ourselves, right? There's a lot of people that do that. But, I think at the end of the day, you all have created opportunities for our next generation to figure out what success looks like. And you know what? We now have the Space Force, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to conquer the final frontier, just like Star Trek or whatever that was that told us we were going to do.
Captain Kirk.
The one thing I want to last hit on here is something that's on the back of your bottles, is to serve honorably and drink honorably. And I think that really kind of sums up Veterans Day and what you all are doing as a brand. So who wants to take, what that means and why that is on the back of your all's bottles?
Rick, you take the serve honorably, drink honorably, and I'll take the sip to remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the serve honorably, right now, Jake, on this podcast, Harold and I, we served our country, but you're serving a community. We believe that everyone serves a community. So that's where we say serve honorably. It's also a double entendre, because when it's poured, when it's served, we want it to be done honorably. All right. It's not for slamming down. It's not, completion is not the mission with the bottle. The drink honorably is not drink responsibly. We don't want people to confuse that. That's an important message. Drink responsibly is its own message. What we want drink honorably to mean is that if you're the last warrior, because of whatever branch you're in, the last firefighter, last police officer, last first responder, to come back, don't dishonor the memories of the men and women who didn't make it home. We're here. We're lucky. But more importantly than that, we ask that that you out there don't dishonor your own memory by doing something tragic. We know the numbers. And that leads into what Harold's going to talk about next.
Well, with us as a company, Rick says it a lot, and we all do, is our ethos of our company is, with the suicides, the 22 a day, give or plus or minus, we really want to see that nosedive. With us, it's like we don't want you to drink to forget anymore. We want to sip to remember. And that's sip to remember, our fallen. Of course, I think about them all the time. However, I'm a glass half full guy. I'm very optimistic, and I'm very positive. So when you sip to remember the good times in life, sip to remember the promotions, sip to remember the weddings, the babies, everything that we do throughout our life. And as we walk out our careers, sip to remember the good things. And, we say sip to remember because we don't want you to chug to forget. We want you to sip to remember. And I think that's a great tagline for us. It's smart business. but it's not all business with us. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
really want to sip to remember. And hey, believe me, I've been down the wrong side of a bottle before, and it's not good, right? It's embarrassing. You don't
Yeah,
want
we
to
all
be
have.
embarrassed. And I'm a veteran, right? So I don't want to be embarrassed, right? I don't want to show that part to any of my friends, my family, anybody. So when you're drinking Four Branches bourbon or any bourbon, sip it to remember and
Yeah, I mean,
enjoy.
to Harold's point, Jake, that's the tool that we're using to have greater conversations, right? Because we know that alcohol can play a big part and it can be dangerous, right? But so can a hammer, right? I can either build a church, I can kill you with a hammer, or I can build a church. That's how we view our bourbon.
Yeah.
That's the
Good
greater
point.
message
Good
with
point,
it.
Rick. Yep.
Yeah. And so, one, I just want to say thank you all for spending some time with us. And two, sharing a little bit about your all service, right? Sometimes we just get focused on the brand and not the stories behind the brand. And you all are a collection of guys that have come together over a weird Facebook post that Rick made. Making things happen here and creating enjoyable whiskeys. Again, if you are still looking for one of these, there's a few in the wild. Go grab this bottle. It might be one of the best bourbons I've had this year. In all honesty, I got to go back and look at all my tasting notes. But you all have created something special and something that I remember and I sip to because I enjoy our conversations and always getting back to hanging out with you all. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. We really appreciate you all for what you did and continue to do if you're serving still. Thank you for your service, and we will catch you next time on the Bourbon Lens. Cheers.
Awesome, Jake.
Cheers.
Cheers.